Help me reach 1,000 subscribers. Support this video by liking and sharing your thoughts in the comments. I read every single one. Thank you. I never thought I'd be sharing this story, but here I am. My name is Peter, and for 12 years I believed marriage was built on respect, loyalty, and clear boundaries. Nancy and I weren't perfect, but we were solid. We built a life together, our home, routines, shared responsibilities. I worked long hours to provide stability, and she always said that's what she loved about me, that I was dependable, that I made her feel safe. In the beginning, Nancy was attentive, present, and engaged. We talked about everything, dreams, fears, silly jokes only we understood. But slowly things changed. Not suddenly, but quietly. She started coming home later, smiling at her phone, distracted during conversations. I noticed, but I didn't accuse. I asked, and she blamed work stress or friends. I trusted that marriage isn't about control, it's about trust. Then one evening she casually told me she was going out after work. When I asked with whom, she hesitated and said, "A friend." That pause felt heavy. I stayed calm and said I wasn't comfortable with one-on-one outings that looked like dates. She laughed it off and said, "Relax. I'll make it up later." That one sentence changed everything. I calmly told her that night that crossing certain lines breaks trust. I wasn't yelling or emotional, I was clear. I warned that choices have consequences. She nodded, acted like I was overreacting, and 2 days later she did it anyway. That night she dressed differently, intentionally. When I asked where she was going, she didn't even look at me. Something inside me went quiet. I realized she wasn't confused, she was choosing. I sat alone, replaying 12 years in my head. Every sacrifice, every time I stayed silent to keep peace, every moment I prioritized commitment over ego. I wasn't angry. I was disappointed. Disrespect hurts differently when it comes from someone who knows exactly what they're doing. Nancy returned past midnight, smelling of unfamiliar cologne and confidence. She smiled as if nothing had happened and said, "See, I told you I'd make it up later." I realized she didn't understand what she had already lost. I didn't argue. I didn't beg for explanations. I simply told her, dating while married isn't a misunderstanding. It's a choice, and I don't stay where I'm an option. That night I slept in the guest room. Not hurt, but done explaining basic respect to someone who no longer valued it. The next morning she acted normal, coffee, small talk, avoidance. That confirmed it. Respect, once broken like that, cannot survive without mutual effort. Over the next week I quietly took action. Changed passwords, checked finances, documented everything, not for revenge but for clarity. When Nancy noticed my distance, she asked why I seemed quieter, less responsive. I told her, "I'm reconsidering boundaries." That was enough to unsettle her. She had always relied on my patience and consistency. Now she faced the reality that I was no longer smoothing over her choices. She tried to charm, to negotiate, even playfully said, "Come on, Peter. Don't be upset. It's just a date. I'll make it up later." This time it fell flat. I calmly replied, "I warned you once. You chose to ignore it. Respect isn't optional." She froze, not because I yelled but because I was immovable. I realized the marriage I thought I had ended the moment she chose her priorities over our shared life. I refused to pretend otherwise. I found freedom in clarity. No yelling, no begging, just the understanding that some choices end relationships more effectively than any argument ever could. 2 weeks later, Nancy tried subtle manipulation. Small excuses, emotional appeals, casual reassurances. Every attempt only confirmed my understanding. She had crossed a line she couldn't uncross. Respect is non-negotiable. Actions define a person, words only frame them. By the 3rd week I consulted legal counsel, not for revenge but to protect fairness. Financial separation agreements were put in place calmly and methodically. Nancy expected drama, confrontation, or indecision. Instead, she found clarity, calmness, and immovable boundaries. Finally, I could sit in our home without feeling weighed down by uncertainty. Standing firm, calmly enforcing boundaries, and valuing oneself above neglect is the strongest statement anyone can make. Looking back, I'm not proud of leaving. I'm proud of standing up for myself. 12 years built a bond, yes, but they don't obligate someone to remain respectful or committed. Choosing to honor myself allowed me to reclaim dignity, peace, and vision for my future. Nancy's actions reflected her priorities, not mine. And for the first time in years, I felt completely aligned with mine. If you've ever had to stand firm when someone broke your trust, hit like, comment, boundary below and share this story. Your perspective could help someone else recognize their worth.